Well, hey there team, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to my overview of Cygni, All Guns Blazing. So for those not across it, I do overviews on this channel. I have a look at the first 2 hours of a game because it's a Steam refund window. Steam says that you can make up your mind about whether you want to keep a game or not in that time period, and generally speaking, I would agree and would say, as a rule, 20 hours in, you're probably not going to change your mind about how you felt 2 hours in. So it's a short, punchy video, keep it around 10 minutes, broad strokes info, and then you can make up your mind on your own. So, okay, let's lead with this. I really like this game. Is it a good game? That's gonna be a tough question to answer. It's because it's doing some really weird stuff, almost avant-garde, dare I say. And I think it really sticks the landing with some of the stuff. Some of the other stuff, I still don't even understand what's going on or why. And I feel like even if you put it on a whiteboard and break it down, there's actually some bad gameplay design in here. But who cares if it's fun? That's all that really matters. And it is, at least for me. Now, credentials, probably my least favorite genre on the planet is shoot 'em ups, which is what this is. These bullet hell, aeroplane type games. I understand that there is a rabid fandom that love these sort of things, and I'd be really curious how this goes down with them, because normally they're more sort of indie pixely throwback nostalgia bait type games. Whereas this is Konami, who has outrageous amounts of money. I know they are known for the most part through Kojima and his exit and all that, and it became very it became kind of a popular talking point to dislike Konami because of the troubles with Kojima. But putting all that aside, from what I understand, they're diversified into many other ways, pachinko, all sorts of other stuff. Like beyond the West, Konami is an absolute powerhouse. It's very successful, and they've thrown like all their money behind this, top-down shoot 'em up type game that they usually go for $10. And the end result is this fever dream come true of, double A, quadruple A budget of, graphics, cutscenes, effects, everything. And it is just wild. This is like an experience. And so the most standout thing to me is how they've done this, the top-down camera's perspective. I'm using my hands, but you can see that. You understand these type of games, right? But they've really gone and come up with some clever ways of using that depth into the screen. You're like a fighter plane, and that's the ground down there, and monster things, because you're fighting these. They kind of remind me of like Shadow of the Colossus meets Reapers from Mass Effect 1. And these things are coming out of the ground and up into the air, and you have these wild boss battles with like tentacled squid ones, and they're huge and lumbering, and it just captures this high budget cinematic value that not in a million years would I have thought to see in this genre specifically. So as far as to call it like an experience, it is absolute 10 out of 10. I would almost say a must play on that part, just to experience what shouldn't really exist in a way. And I'd be curious if it gets much mainstream traction, but for my part, I'll shout it out while I'm also rattling off the insanity of that existing. The soundtrack, the sound effects, the effects of explosions and artillery going off. It is so cool. And then you've got some innovative mechanics. You can fire in the sort of top plane versus other ships and all that sort of stuff, but you can also, if you press left trigger, you fire at the ground, and that kind of auto locks on to targets as well. So it has this interplay between the two. And look, I apologize if I'm a bit all over the place, because this game is kind of all over the place. So maybe I'll just slow down and sort of checklist it in my mind. I don't do scripts, right? This is all off the cuff. So we've talked about the bombastic presentation and nature. It's wild. Dovetailing onto the back of that. What's the story? There is not really a story. There's something in there, but it is so paper thin, and I don't care. It's basically these Cygni monster things. They're on this planet. They were like dead carcass fossil type things that people had studied for technology and what have you. And then one day they just all woke up, and it turns out they're robots or something. I guess we didn't realize that when we were poking and prodding them for however long. And so, you have to fight them. The game between each level has these, vignette cutscenes of Ura Marine inspired talking leadership speeches, very Starship Troopers with all the swells and kind of the platitudes, because there is no story. And I think whatever you would call this that they're doing here is kind of excellent, and there is a market for it. I wax and wane often about how gaslit we are into thinking interpersonal character drama is what we want in writing, and I don't. I really don't. And usually the fallback point is if the game's fun to play, that's all that matters. You don't need a story. Well, whatever you would call this storytelling, which is to say it's not story, but it has these little vignette cutscenes. You've got this main chick that you play, and it looks like almost Pixar level quality cutscenes. It's wild. It's got like boppy pop rock soundtracks while the chick's getting changed. It makes no sense. It shouldn't work. It kind of does. I don't think you get to know who your chick's name is. I don't think she speaks, or maybe she does in the cutscenes. But the point is that, it's just snippets. It's the most vignette-y vignettes I've ever seen. And all it really does, it doesn't add to a narrative, but it adds to a kind of mouthfeel, a world building, a vibe, dare I say, immersion. So yeah, I'm sucked in. I want to see the next cutscene. I want to see the next spectacular level. I kind of want to have my socks blown off by the bombastic spectacle that is this game. And at the same time, I don't really care that there's no story. So to me, that might not be a big thing for everyone, but to me, this is actually kind of a bit of a phenomenon, and I think it's really cool. Anyway, so I'm raving about this game. Let's talk about the other weird stuff that's going on. On a meta layer, because I jumped in the Steam discussions to have a look and see what fanfare there was. And people pointed out that this is coming out on Epic Store for free. At least it's listed, unless that's a bug or something. And maybe that's a couple of days after this comes out. And it's going to go for 45 Australian dollars, I think, which isn't super cheap. That's like middle of the road AA. For all the budget that's gone into it, I would probably argue it's a fairly reasonable price, because you just do not see this sort of game with this sort of budget ever. But investigate the Epic thing if you're interested. It looks like you can probably play it for free for whatever bizarre reason that is. And then there's the difficulty. It starts on default, normal, and I can't beat the first level. And apparently it is so outrageously difficult. The dev went out of their way to shoot me emails and say, do not put it on normal difficulty, put it on easy. I should never have called it easy mode. So maybe it's a lost in translation thing or whatever, but straight from the horse's mouth, they expect you to start playing on easy. And the jump between easy and normal is just mind-bogglingly different. You get 3 extra lives on easy, and I wouldn't say it's too easy, but it's not like I'm really not passing the levels. I'm enjoying blowing shit up and bright lights on the screen, and it's very fun, but it's almost a different game. The jump is phenomenal from easy to normal. And then there's this other aspect. There's these upgrades that you can buy. One of them, they teach you in the tutorial that you can toggle homing bullets. So it's not really a twin stick shooter. You've got a bit of fidelity with the right thumbstick. You can move it and waggle it in a front arc. You can't turn it around or anything like that. So it's still a shoot 'em up. It's not quite twin stick, but you don't have the homing bullets ability unlocked by default. So the experience for some poor schmuck off the street that hasn't seen my video or anything is they're going to buy this game, they're going to play the tutorial, it's going to teach them about homing bullets that you can toggle on, they're going to play normal, they're going to get fisted on normal difficulty immediately, because pretty much 2 hits and you're dead, and they're going to be going, well, why can't my bullets lock on? So as I can understand, it's just so hard to tell. I'm in a bubble, I'm not talking to other people while I review this, but I think you're supposed to just play the main campaign on easy, because that's how you earn upgrade points, and they're all very expensive. And then you spend the upgrade points to buy abilities like the homing missiles, and it seems like a kind of core abilities to enjoy the game. And then you go back and attempt it on normal once maybe you've bought all the upgrades, and then you playing the game as correct, 6 hours in or whatever. And that's at the beginning when I mentioned maybe that's bad design. I don't really like the idea of the game gets good after X hours. That's not really what's going on here, but I'm talking from a design perspective. The idea that a lot of games fall over when the beginning of the game isn't the true experience, or they haven't designed it for balance, basically, because once you unlock these abilities towards endgame, that's the actual vision the developers have. So there's this discussion that can be had about the curve being wrong when you hobble the character. The beginning character for the first few hours is not really feature complete because you've hidden all their upgrades for later in the game. So I don't really know what you're supposed to take away from this. I mean, good for you if you go straight into this on normal fuck you difficulty and you beat it with your arm tied behind your back without any of the upgrades. But if you feel confused by all this, you share that in common with me, and I've done my best to explain it. Also, on top of that, there is a mechanic. You can sort of balance power. It reminds me of like engines and stuff from Elite Dangerous. You've got shields and you've got damage output. And as best as I understand it, you pick up dropped blips that charge your shield, and you can choose to put those shield pips into attack, or you can put them back into shield. And if you drain your shield all the way out, you'll pretty much get 2 tap to the hull and die, right? So I guess there's a trade-off there, risk and reward. However, if you don't touch that button, it'll just autofill the shield. It won't overcharge your weapons. And here's the real kicker. Once your shield is full, once you start picking things up, they go into the meta upgrade currency kitty. And this is how you buy upgrades between missions. So I experimented with it. I did a full level where I basically just kept stacking my attack, so I kept draining the shield to put it into attack, and I didn't really notice a huge difference in my damage output, but the end result was I had like no upgrade points because I'd pretty much haven't been overfilling from overdoing the shield. Like I said before, once your shield's full, you pick up those pips, they go into currency instead. So by just converting them all into attack laser, I ended up not getting upgrade points, and normally you'd probably get like 100 for beating a mission, and then the upgrades are like 150, 250. So it's just really weird. And my takeaway from it was just play the game on easy, enjoy the bombastic nature, do not engage with the overchargeability, collect as many upgrade pips as you can. I've beaten about 4 or 5 stages, and it looks like maybe there's 7 or 8, so I guess I've nearly beaten the game in a couple of hours. But then you've got normal and hard, and I guarantee you normal will keep you busy forever. And so I guess once I've got all the upgrades, I go back. Anyway, look, I really enjoy it, but you can understand my conflict. I can't believe this exists. I'm really glad it does. I think it is a spectacle. It is a phenomenon. It's really quite wonderful to engage with, and I've had a shit-eating grin on my face the whole time. I think the way that they're doing narratives, I really hope that this is something that gets picked up, because it favors people that are more interested in an immersive experience and less about, feelings and character interplay. And I wonder if Deborah still likes me because I went out on a date with Ben. I don't give a shit about all this modern writing. But then at the same time, it's doing some really weird mechanics that almost seem counterintuitive. And to the best of my understanding, I don't know why some of them are in there. So yeah, still recommend it. Check it out if it's free on Epic, if that's not a typo. But yeah, what a pleasant surprise from a genre that I don't like, and I'm probably going to play more of this. Anyway, team, might just leave it there for the time being, and I will catch you guys on the next one.